What's going on, guys? This is Ryan McGuire back with another episode of The Positive Influence. On today's episode, I'm here with my good friend Jack Barrett. Jack, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you
Um,
too.
so, on today's episode, we're basically going to be talking about post-graduation life, developing your career, and finding your footing in a difficult period of life for a lot of people who are finishing with college. Jack is someone who is currently dealing with that lifestyle as a graduate in the last year, and he's finding his footing in his career. So, just to start off, Jack, tell me a little bit about that process, how you've wound up where, how you've wound up where you are, and how you're liking it so far.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give a little bit of a background about myself. Last year, I graduated from the University of New Hampshire. During that time, I pursued a psychology major and a minor in justice studies. My career right now has absolutely nothing to do with that. I mean, I tell everyone that I went into it thinking that I was going to come out doing a clinical route with psychology. Then it just ended up being, I lost interest kind of like in the third year of college, and it left a really weird taste in my mouth, I guess. It was just a weird point in my life where I'd spent all this time kind of pursuing this one degree, and then kind of just realized that I didn't want to do it. And at that point, it's already too late. I kept going with my psych degree. I still enjoyed it. But going the clinical route was something that I realized, a little bit too late, that I didn't want to pursue. So yeah, I
It's
kind of
interesting that you were able to find a different career path that didn't align with your degree. I think a lot of people feel like they're locked into their degree and sometimes get cold feet, and that's perfectly fine. So that's interesting that you were able to find a different route. Tell me a little bit about what your current position is and where you're working and how you like it so far.
Yeah, so right now, I'm working within the construction industry, which is wildly different than, psych or justice studies. Luckily, part of my job kind of involves, I guess, a psychology portion where, my position right now, I'm working within HR, but I'm helping with creating trainings for my company. So I'm able to kind of use some of that knowledge I had in my psych degree to kind of apply it towards, adult learning and all these other like concepts that we're discussing. But it's definitely been a really hard learning curve. I didn't have a background in construction. I didn't have, obviously a background in human resources. I mean, I'd done uh, a summer internship kind of like a year before I'd gotten my full-time position, but an internship only goes so far. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's kind
Where
of
was
hard.
that internship at?
It was at the same company I was
Oh,
at,
okay.
so I was able to, luckily go to school, and then after school, I was able to start another internship with them, still in HR, and then I kind of transitioned into a full-time position within the same company, which I'm absolutely grateful for, and they've taught me a lot. But understanding kind of this industry that I really have no experience in has been really difficult. But it's also just, I enjoy that challenge. It's hard. It's there's a lot of moving parts, and specifically with my company, one of the main things that kind of comes up, or one of the main roadblocks, is that it sounds silly, but there's a ton of acronyms. Like everything within the company is an acronym. So when you're looking at something on a document, there's an important like program or an important kind of concept. It's usually always in an acronym. So it's just this kind of battle of like understanding or learning what that acronym is, and understanding like what it really means. And beyond that, there's so many different levels to all the different parts within the company I'm working for. It's just really difficult to kind of navigate that. But it's 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 been interesting. Like I really enjoy it. Just learning all the terminology within the construction industry, learning how it kind of works. There's a lot of nuances within each kind of company, but it's definitely been fun to figure out.
That's nice. That's nice. Circling back to your initial internship, how was it securing that internship with a path in college that really didn't relate to the position? I'm interested in that.
Yeah, so actually, I have a pretty long history with the company I was working, or am working for. I'd actually started working. It sounds like a movie, but I started working in the mailroom throughout high school. So I worked like a summer in the mailroom, and then I had moved on to another internship that out of the mailroom where I was helping with the logistics portion of the company. So right now it's called something completely different, but it was essentially just I was working and helping with the buying and selling of certain equipment on projects. I obviously, as an intern, they can't give me that much responsibility, but it was like a good jump start for me to kind of understand the industry and understand kind of the different moving parts at a very small scale. It was a small department. I think it had to be like 4 different people. I don't even know if those people still work from a company, but um, it was really cool. It definitely sparked my interest kind of in the construction industry from an early point. And then after that, I mean, that was still throughout high school. And then after that, I went off to college. I didn't work there for a couple years. Then what was that? I believe it was sophomore year or the summer between sophomore year and senior year of college. I'd ended up reaching out because I was like, hey, I ended up getting an interest kind of in human resources. I thought it was something that I could apply like my psych degree to some extent. It's I feel you can
Related enough, yeah.
Yeah, it was related enough, and I was able to kind of apply and get an internship through that. And then I worked there for that summer, went back to school for my senior year, and then after that I came back because I had no clue what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew that human resources interested me, but no one really prepares you for that conversation afterwards, like after you're graduating. It's kind of hard, especially when I was in that weird position where I kind of reached junior year, and I knew I didn't want to do psychology. I knew I didn't want to like pursue that route. So no one really, there's a lot of conversations that people give you when it comes to or like support that they give you when it comes to like after like post grad. They tell you like you'll find a job eventually, you'll find this, you'll find that, like things will work out. But no one really has that conversation with you. I mean, unless you count your guidance counselor, which frankly sometimes they can't really be that helpful.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult when you have that conversation where you've reached this point in your college career and you realize like it's a little bit too late to switch. It's a little bit,
you're kind of
you
locked
can't
in
really
a little
do
bit.
anything unless you want to take another year, which financially I know I couldn't do another year. Like it wasn't possible. I was paying like out of state tuition. It's just a kind of a difficult thing to make work. But
Yeah.
it's really hard to kind of have that conversation because a guidance counselor might be like, what, you can take these classes, you can try to do like an accelerated course, but realistically, like is that going to be worth it? Like you kind of have to weigh these options, and it's a little difficult to understand when it's time to do something else. Like, and I just understood that a little bit too late. And frankly, I mean, it all came down to literally one class. I just had a professor that kind of pushed me over the edge where it was just this super disorganized, super just, I felt like I hit a point where I was hearing the same things over and over and over again. And, I'm sure a lot of other psych students can kind of agree with me to some extent where, you're hearing a lot of the same names. There's a lot of things reiterated. It's hard to, really be, involved or interested when you're just hearing people tell you things about psychology versus, applying it to kind of your life or applying it to like, practice, like clinical, like something like that. So that was where I kind of hit that crossroads where I just felt like I was hearing the same things over and over again, and I wasn't actually applying it. I wasn't actually able to kind of, use it in the way that I wanted to use it. So, and at that point, I mean, partially it was my fault in terms of, the classes I chose and the path I had taken. I didn't realize early on that, it's hard to realize that you want to go a specific path, especially a clinical one at an early age.
Yeah.
When you're 18, it doesn't make sense that, you're being told like these, like, do you want to go this path? Do you want to go this path? And then once you're kind of pick one, or you pick like the type of classes that you're doing, you're kind of stuck with that for the most
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
And to some extent, I had that, and it was too late until I realized. But obviously I don't have any regrets about that. I'm
yeah.
so glad where I am, and I'm definitely lucky to be in the position I am. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a journey for sure. Yeah.
Do you think when you found your footing in HR, there was a lot of like relief and stress lifted off your shoulders because you maybe were nervous about like your career shift towards the end of college? You've already said that you kind of felt that it was almost too late, but you still were able to make it work. So was that like a stress reliever?
Yeah, it was to some extent, but I mean, it wasn't a stress reliever obviously until I got, a full-time job.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I was super fortunate that, that the time that I ended up getting my full-time position, and then the time when my student loan started to kick in, was only a 2-week difference.
hmm
So I was really lucky that I had that. But during the internship portion, like, there was definitely a lot of uncertainty. Even though I was with, the company I'm with, um, I was still looking for jobs, and especially in New York, I mean, it's super difficult to, find a job, especially one that, is on a corporate level, because there's just so many people applying to those jobs. I mean, there's big corporations within Manhattan, and they always have job postings. You always see, job postings for all these huge companies,
hmm
but then you look on LinkedIn and it says like this has 100 plus applicants, or like 1,000 plus applicants, or
yeah,
something like that. So, it's a bit discouraging. So when I was doing my internship, I didn't know if I was going to get offered a full-time position. I mean, I'm happy that I did, but there's still uncertainty. I was in this weird kind of limbo state where I just didn't know like what I wanted to do from there on out. I had a plan with HR at the moment as an intern, but um, I didn't know if that was going to be the end all be all. I don't know if it still will be the end all be all, but
hmm
I'm kind of enjoying the ride, and really, getting to understand the industry as much as I can, and just understand kind of like how I can, better the company, how I can better my own skills, and really just show like what I'm capable of.
yeah, yeah. So I hear a lot of time, like I know a lot of people that are working in HR. I never really know exactly what that entails. So can you just walk me through like the logistics of a day on the office?
Yeah, so, well, the one thing that people are kind of confused about sometimes is HR itself is broken up into kind of a bunch of different organizations or different teams. So for mine, I'm on the knowledge and learning team. So I'm helping with creating trainings. We have a pretty large group of absolutely awesome people. Like, everyone's been so great to me so far, and I really enjoy being around them. But there's also like DE&I, which is kind of about like diversity. It stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. And then
hmm
there's a main HR, which is, they're kind of concerned with like hiring people and day-to-day kind of you know stuff. I guess they're more concerned with like posting jobs, kind of handling internal issues, stuff like that. That's what a lot of people consider HR, is like, a small group of people that kind of are managing, employees within the company.
hmm
But there's a ton more. I mean, there's
So last but not least, Jack, I just wanted to ask about maybe some advice you have for people that are going through stuff that you've been through, obviously unsure about your career path, unsure about post-grad life, what to do next. If you have any insight on ways to help people through that, that would be great.
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind is connecting with people. Definitely leverage your connections if you have some, throughout college, or anywhere else kind of in an industry you might be interested in. I would definitely use those. Um, I don't know. I think it's definitely difficult to kind of put yourself out there that way, and really show what you're worth. And it's, some people might not understand your worth. Some people might not, get it, but someone will realize it at some point. Someone will pick up on, that you're really trying, and putting yourself out there. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that I would kind of say about post grad, especially searching for jobs.
Just getting to know people in the industry, being natural, being yourself is definitely something that could always help in any situation. But I feel like
Yeah, and
that's what
definitely
I've
just
been.
showing. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you're good. That's definitely what I've been told through, like, as someone that's still in college, that's what I've been told a lot. Like, networking, connecting with people in the
Hmm.
industry always helps. And even though I'm in a different industry, I just feel like in general, having people out there that you could talk to about, like, the same conversation I'm having with you right now, people you could talk to about things, it always helps no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you have friends or anyone that you can leverage those connections, I think those are some of the best connections to have.
Mm,
Um, I feel like being able to get a job now is more reliant to some extent on connections than
yeah.
it used to be. It's a different kind of environment than it was, 20 years ago. I mean, a lot of times parents will say, or just older people in general, they just assume kind of blindly that you can just get a job straight out of college, and
Yeah.
that's not, necessarily the truth. I mean, it's definitely harder than it used to be. I mean, like highly populated areas like New York or Connecticut or any other places kind of along the East Coast, there's just such a high volume of people
Yeah. So
kind
much
of applying to
competition.
jobs that
Hmm.
there's so much competition. And I think one last piece of advice I would give is be ambitious. I
Hmm.
think ambition is, the key to kind of getting those jobs or positions that you do want. Like, it sounds stupid, but genuinely, like, never give up. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's meant to be hard, and it's getting harder, but it's all about how much you can persevere and kind of push through, the silly things that kind of come with applying to jobs or entering the workforce. Like, it gets really convoluted, but
Hmm.
being able to kind of navigate that and understanding, where you fit within a company or where you can create an entirely new path by itself, it's really, really interesting. I'm personally, I'm trying to create my own path, my own journey, my own kind of vision for what I want to do with my career. And I highly recommend, everyone else kind of take that time to think about that without, you know, having kind of tunnel vision, being like, I want to be a part of this company or that company. Like, start thinking about, like, what do you want to be a part of just in your entire life? Like, what
Yeah.
do you want to kind of pursue, like, personally? Like, a lot of people can sometimes, I'm sure, like, in the communications kind of industry, a lot of times, big companies stand out. Like, you see Nike, or you see like all these
Hmm.
huge companies that kind of have these huge brand names. You're like, I want to work for Nike. And you can work for Nike, but it's starting off, maybe you need to like, kind of humble yourself a little bit and
Take what you can
understand,
get in
like,
a way.
hey, I need to build up to that. I need
Yeah.
to build
Yeah.
my skill set. I need to kind of understand what I'm getting into more before I hop in. Like, I'd yeah,
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you for that. Your experiences obviously have a lot of great information and can definitely help people in the post grad life. So I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, this has been the Positive Influence. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.